Shalom. All right. Shalom. More praises to Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shah. Double honor for the apostles of GMS. This is Amna Allah coming at you another video. In this video, I want to be focusing on this Time magazine article, and it says of headless mice and men, and it's by Charles Kruthheimer, and it's from Sunday, June 24th, 2001. All right. And it goes into these scientists creating headless mice. Now we're going to go into it and we're going to find out the reason for this. Okay? So let's get right into it. This says, last year, Dolly, the cloned sheep, was received with wonder, titters, and some vague apprehension. Last week, the announcement by a Chicago physicist that he is assembling a team to produce the first human clone occasioned yet another wave of Brave New World anxiety. Now, Brave New World was a book written by a man named Aldous Huxley. And Aldous Huxley wrote this book, I believe, probably in 1932. And basically what the book of Brave New World is about is, it basically deals with the future. It deals with like certain classes of society. Like you have the alphas, you have the betas, you have the deltas. It's people that are it deals with a separation of people based upon classism. It deals with depopulation. It deals with the creation of artificial wombs. And if you want to read more, understand more about that, it's even a movie called Brave New World. It came out in 1982, I believe, and it's on YouTube. But I don't want to go too much into that. Basically, it deals with futurism. So it says, but the scariest news of all, and largely overlooked, comes from two obscure labs at the University of Texas and at the University of Bath. During the past 4 years, one group created headless mice, the other headless tadpoles. For sheer Frankenstein wattage, the purposeful, look at the word wattage, what that word wattage means. Wattage. It says power. It says definition means power or an amount of power. Like, like watts. How many watts are in a light bulb? So it says, for sheer Frankenstein wattage, like how Frankenstein had those two bolts on the side of his neck. For sheer, and I believe that was supposed to like activate Frankenstein, some type of electric pulse or something like that. But it says it was supposed to activate him if I'm not mistaken. But it says, for sheer Frankenstein wattage, the purposeful creation of these animal monsters has no equal. Take the mice. Researchers found a gene that tells the embryo to produce the head. They deleted it. Now let's stop right there. It says they found a gene that tells the embryo to produce the head, and they deleted it. Now what is that gene called? Let's get into that. This is from a website called Learn Genetics. It says Learn Genetics, Genetic Science Learning Center. It says homeotic genes and body patterns. Every organism has a unique body pattern, including human beings. Although specialized body structures such as arms and legs may be similar in makeup, both are made of muscle and bone. Their shapes and details are different. While an embryo grows arms and legs, arms and legs develop differently due to the actions of homeotic genes, which specify how structures develop in different segments of the body. How did scientists discover genes that determine body pattern? Scientists discovered homeotic genes by studying strange transmutations in fruit flies, including flies that had feet in place of mouthparts, extra pairs of wings, or two pairs of balanced organs. And I'm pretty sure we've seen creatures like that, like bugs, like roaches and flies. They have like an extra pair of wings or extra leg if you look at it close, or a certain body part that's in a part of the body where it shouldn't be. Extra pairs of wings or two pairs of balanced organs called halteres or halteres instead of wings. Some even had legs growing out of their heads in place of antennae. Scientists call these modifications homeotic transformations because one body part seem to have replaced by another. Researchers seem to have been replaced by another. Researchers, including a group headed by Ed Lewis at Caltech, discovered that many of these transformations were caused by defects in single genes, which they determined homeotic or Hox genes. This work demonstrated that antennal cells carry all of the information necessary to become leg cells, this is a general principle. Every cell in an organism carries within its DNA all the information necessary to build the entire organism. So it tells you every cell in an organism carries within the DNA all the information necessary to build the entire organism. So every cell in our body, according to these scientists, which makes sense, okay? Every cell in the organism within your DNA has all the information to create that entire organism. And it gives you an example. It shows you an insect's head. It shows you this creature's head, and says see it has an antenna. And then it shows you another version that has a leg instead of an antenna. See how this one on the right has 4 wings. This one has halteres right there. It's in the place of a wing. See how that's located? Well, on this one, that's where the wings come from. See? Okay. It says top left, normal fruit fly, right fruit fly mutation. Let's go down. Here's the point. It says shared characteristics. Hox genes arranged along the fruit fly chromosome. So this diagram that you see at the top, this image you see at the top, is the chromosome, a fruit fly's chromosome. The Hox genes that are along the fruit fly chromosome. In the middle you see an embryo, and on the bottom you see the fruit fly. You see the insect. Now what do you notice here? If you notice, all the way on the left of the fruit fly's chromosome in that image, the first image at the top, you see it's dark brown. And then when you go down to the middle one, the embryo, the one on the left, the image on the left, all the way on the left side of the image, you see dark brown. And when you look at the insect all the way at the bottom, on the left you see what? Dark brown. Why is that? Because the way that they have this, the way that they're showing the chromosome, the Hox gene that's arranged on the fruit fly chromosome, basically what it's telling you that end where you see dark brown on the chromosome, that's where the head is going to form. That's the reason why when you look at the embryo, on the left is dark brown and right under it says head. And then we look at the insect, that part of the insect is dark brown where the head is located. Okay? So Hox genes are arranged along the fruit fly chromosome. And if you continue to look at how the fruit fly chromosome is, you see the different colors, how the colors change. Well, that's how, basically what that's telling you is, that's how the body is going to form. It's going to form that way. It's going to form the way that the Hox genes are located on the chromosome. So all on the left, you see the head, right? Like if you look at the middle, you see head, and in the middle you see thorax, and on the right you see abdomen. Same thing with the insect. So that's how the body is formed. You have Hox genes that's located on the chromosome. The Hox gene is located on the chromosome inside the body of a particular organism. And how the Hox genes are located is how that particular organism will form. That's the reason why when human beings, that's the reason why we don't have legs growing out of our head. That's why we don't have arms growing out of our feet. Because the way that the Hox genes are located on the chromosome causes our head to be formed, and then everything else associated with the head, like the eyes, the nose, the mouth, the ears, so on and so forth, all the way down to your chest, your stomach, down to your feet. It says, Hox genes arranged along the fruit fly chromosome, zones of Hox gene activity in the embryo. It says structures in the adult controlled by Hox genes. Genes in different organisms that share similar sequence and functions are called homologous genes. I'm gonna read a little bit more and that's it. Fruit flies begin life as worm creatures made up of repeating units or segments. Early in development, Hox genes are switched on in different segments. Patterns of Hox gene activity give each segment an identity, telling it where it is in the body and what structures it should grow. For instance, genes that are active in the head direct the growth of mouth parts and antennae, while genes that are active in the thorax direct the growth of legs and wings. So, a little bit more changes Tahak's gene expression changes segment's identity. For example, the first segment of the thorax normally grows legs. That's all I got to read there. So I'm going to go back to the main article and get some scriptures out. So it says, researchers found the gene that tells the embryo to produce the head. They deleted it. They did this in 1,000 mice embryos, 4 of which were born. I use the term loosely, having no way to breathe. The mice died instantly. So they're using the term. So it's the reason why they said I use the term loosely, because they said that they were born, but they had no way to breathe, so they died instantly. So they weren't. So were they really born? Not. So were they really born or not? That's what they're saying. It says, why then create them? The Texas researchers want to learn how genes determine embryo development. But you don't have to be a genius to see the true utility of manufacturing headless creatures, for their organs, fully formed, perfectly useful, ripe for plundering. So that's why Esau wants to create these mice without heads, for their organs. Because if they was able to create a mouse without a head, and it actually was able to live, then they would be able to do the same things with humans. And if they was able to create a human without a head, then what could you then do? What you could do is you could put organs inside the body and you could put cells inside that body, and those cells would eventually develop into organs, and you'll be able to harvest those organs inside of that lifeless body. Okay? Let's get some scriptures. This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 14, verse 14. I'm going to go right to the point. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. Now, this is what Esau is saying, so-called white man. I will be like the Most High. And that's what he wants to be. He wants to be like the Heavenly Father. He wants to be a creator. Okay? He wants to be able to create life. He wants to have complete control over life and complete control over death. That's what it is that Esau is desiring to do by creating these headless mice in hopes of creating headless humans. And it goes on. So that's what I'm going to read there. I'm going to go back to the article. All right? It says, why should you be panicked? Because humans are next. So it's telling you, why should you be panicked? Because humans are next. It will almost certainly be possible to produce human bodies without a forebrain. Princeton biologist Lee Silver told the London Sunday Times, these human bodies, without any semblance of consciousness, would not be considered persons, and thus it would be perfectly legal to keep them alive as a future source of organs. That's the bottom of your screen there. So it says, it would almost certainly be possible to produce human bodies without a forebrain. Now, what is a forebrain? Let's go right there. Forebrain. See what that is. Forebrain. It says, what is the forebrain made of? Let me go down. There's a lot of stuff here. Let me see. Let's go right there. Right here, the forebrain. Brain. This is from www.thoughtcode.com. Anatomy of the brain. Let's go to forebrain. It says the forebrain is the division of the brain. The reason why it's called forebrain, because forebrain means fore, meaning last brain. Because according to Esau, that's the last part of the human's brain to have developed through so-called evolution. It says the forebrain is a division of the brain that is responsible for a variety of functions, including receiving and processing sensory information. Sensory information meaning information that you gather through your senses: taste, touch, smell, sight, and hearing. The information that you gather through those senses, that's called sensory information. And the forebrain is responsible for receiving and processing that information gathered through the senses, thinking, perceiving, producing and understanding language, and controlling motor function. All right. There's more I could read there. Let me go back. Bear me 1 second. Here's what I wanted to get. This is from a website called study.com. Okay. This is forebrain definition and function. This is the one I wanted to get. because I was reading this the other day. It says the term forebrain means last brain, or the most recently developed portion of our brain. It controls everything from voluntary movement and the integration of sensory information to all our higher abstract thought. Abstract thought basically is like when you aren't thinking about something that's concrete, like when you aren't thinking about an object itself. It's like something they call this symbolic thinking. It's like when a person can look at a picture, right? You can look at a picture and you can see the actual picture itself, but your abstract thought is you're not necessarily thinking about the picture as in an object, but you're thinking about the picture in regards to what it is that the picture means. It's like you ever seen a movie or a television show, and people or been to a museum, people are looking at these different paintings. They see the painting, but when they look at the painting, what do they say? They say, "See, but the painting means so and so and so and so." It's like you're not necessarily thinking about an object in itself. You're thinking about the meaning of it. Like mathematics can be considered abstract thinking. Okay? Mathematics can be considered abstract thinking. Looking at a picture or looking at a sculpture and not necessarily looking at the sculpture for just it being a stone, or looking at a picture or a painting and looking at the drawing or the colors, you're looking at the meaning you're looking at the meaning that's behind it. Okay? Let's see if I'll give you a better definition of that. It says abstract thinking is the ability to think about objects, principles, and ideas that are not physically present. See? It is related to symbolic thinking, which uses the substitution of a symbol for an object or idea. A variety of everyday behaviors constitute abstract thinking. Okay? Let me see. All right, so that's the definition of that. And it says logic, speech, and emotions. Basically, the development of the forebrain is why we humans are so intellectually advanced. Let's look at the structures of the forebrain that enable our cognitive abilities. I can go deeper into it, but I'm not gonna go deep into it. But part of the forebrain is also you have the right side of the brain, the left side of the brain. The right side of the brain deals with the creativity, and the left side of the brain deals with things like logic. As a matter of fact, let's see, there should be a video here on this somewhere. Well, that's basically the point on that. I don't gotta go any deeper into it. Okay. Now it says, why should you be panicked? Because humans are next. It will almost certainly be possible to produce human bodies without a forebrain. So Esau wants to create human bodies without a forebrain. And as we read, the forebrain is called forebrain or last brain because it said it's the last part of the brain to have developed. But the forebrain deals with things like logic, abstract thinking, emotions. You have the right side of the brain, the left side of the brain. What's the right side of the brain? Those are like creativity. The left side of the brain deals with things such as logic and many other things. There's many other things. I can go deeper into it because I was reading yesterday, but I don't really I'm not really go into it. It deals with things like logic. It deals with things like emotion, abstract thinking. This is what the forebrain consists of. Now, why would Esau want to create a human body without a forebrain? If you can create a human body without a forebrain, that means you're creating an individual that doesn't have the functions of the forebrain. No creativity, no logic, no emotion, no abstract thinking, no sensory information. Therefore, you have a body with no consciousness. Because if you have a body that has no sensory information, then if you have a body that has no forebrain, then that means what? That individual cannot develop any sensory information, meaning it can't gather information through its senses. They don't possess any logic. They don't possess any emotion. They don't possess any creativity. So basically, what you have is an organism with no consciousness. You just basically have a lifeless body there. Okay? It says Princeton biology. Let me get a scripture on that. Isaiah 28:1. The word of the Lord came again unto me, saying, Son of man, say unto the prince of Tyrus, that thus saith the Lord power, because thine heart is lifted up, and thou hast said, I am a God. I sit in the seat of the Most High, in the midst of the seas, yet thou art a man, and not the Most High. Though thou set thine heart as the heart of the Most High. So that's Esau. Esau sets his heart, meaning his mind, as the mind of the Most High. But he's not the Most High, and he is a man. He's a man and not a God. But Esau thinks he is. He wants to be a God. Matter of fact, I'll get that real quick too. Matter of fact, I'm not going to get that yet. It says, these human bodies without semblance of consciousness would not be considered persons. And thus it will be perfectly legal to keep them alive as a future source of organs. See? These individuals created don't have a consciousness. They don't have a forebrain. They don't have a right side brain, a left side brain. They don't have logic, emotion, sensory information. They don't have any of that. No abstract thinking, none of that. So therefore, could these things really be considered a person? And if these things couldn't be considered a person, wouldn't they be considered legal to harvest organs inside of them? See? It says, alive, never have a pair of quotation marks loomed so ominously. Take the mouse furrow technology. Apply it to humans, mouse furrow, because they try to with tadpoles as well. It is this article here is mainly dealt with the mice. Take the mouse furrow technology. Apply it to humans. Combine it with cloning, and you all become a god. See? You all become a god. You all become a god. Take the mouse furrow technology, apply it to humans, combine it with cloning, and you all become a god. So if you take the technology that was used to create frogs and tadpoles without heads, and you do that same thing to humans, and you even combine it with cloning, being able to clone human beings without without heads, without forebrains, then you all become a god, because you are creating these bodies that don't have a consciousness, and you're able to harvest organs inside of them for other people to continue to live. With a single cell taken from, say, your finger, you produce a headless replica of yourself. Because remember, we read in the other article with the homeotic genes, it says every cell in the organism's body contains the DNA to create the whole entire organism. Say your finger, you produce a headless replica of yourself, a mutant twin, arguably lifeless. That becomes your own personal, precisely tissue-matched organ form. There are, of course, technical hurdles along the way. Suppressing the equivalent head gene in man, incubating tiny infant organs to grow into larger ones that adults could use, and creating artificial wombs, as per Aldous Huxley, that was in the book Brave New World, like I mentioned earlier. Given that it might be difficult to recruit sane women to carry headless fetuses in their birth/death. It won't be long, because some women might not want to do that. But if you can create an artificial womb, now I mentioned artificial womb. Now check this out. It says you could just go on Google images and type in artificial womb. It says how the artificial womb works. Researchers are creating an artificial womb with a laboratory animal. Human testing is still several years away, so they say, right? The artificial wombs work through two separate systems. The premature lamb lives in a container that allows it to absorb amniotic fluid as in normal development. Amniotic fluid is basically like the fluid that protects a baby when it's in its mother's womb. Human beings have amniotic fluid as well. It consists of like the water from the mother's body, the baby's urine, and it acts like a shock absorber to protect the baby from any type of pressure, any bumps or anything that might happen while it's in the womb. It also regulates temperature, gives nutrients, different like antibodies in it, and lubrication, so that the baby's fingers and toes will grow separately. That's why if you have that's why you have people out there that are born with like webbed fingers and webbed toes. The reason why, because the amniotic fluids in their mother's womb was low, so there wasn't enough lubrication, so the fingers grew together, and as well as the toes. It also helps with the muscular and bone development. It says the heart pumps blood, which flows through the umbilical cord to an oxygenator and then back. If they got this with animals, they got it with humans. They just haven't released it to the public yet. And here, just a picture, you know. Esau, man, damn devil. It's just a picture. I went on Google, typed in artificial womb, and this is what popped up. I clicked on the image. I could have clicked on the website, but I just clicked on the image. Okay. This is Proverbs chapter 4, verse 19. The way of the wicked is as darkness. They know not at what they stumble. Now Esau is the wicked, and his way is as darkness, and he doesn't know when he stumbles. He's stumbling right now because he's trying to become the Most High. He's trying to become the Most High, and doesn't even understand that he's stumbling because he's trying to do the impossible. You can never be able to come. You can never be able to become the Most High. But that's what Esau wants to do, because that's his pride. The pride of their heart hath deceived thee, that dwells in the clefts of the rock. That's in the book of Obadiah, right? Let's go back. I'm gonna come back here, Lord willing. Okay, it says it won't be long, however, before these technical barriers are breached. Now this was in 2001, June 24, 2001, when this article came out. It won't be long, however, before these technical barriers are breached. The ethical barriers are already cracking. Lewis Wolpert, professor of biology at University College, London, finds producing headless humans personally distasteful, but given the shortage of organs, does not think distaste is sufficient reason to not go ahead and with something that would save lives. And Professor Silver not only sees nothing wrong philosophically or rationally with producing headless humans for organ harvesting, he wants to convince a skeptical public that it is perfectly okay. So this particular professor of biology, Lewis Wolpert from University College in London, says that says it's personally distasteful in regards to producing headless humans. But he said if being that there's a quote unquote there's a shortage of organs, just because you feel that it's distasteful doesn't mean that you shouldn't go along with something that could save lives. And as you see, it says the ethical barriers are already cracking. Let's do what let's see what the word ethical means. Ethical. It says ethical. Definition of ethical or relating to ethics. Ethical theories involving or expression moral approval or disapproval, ethical judgments. So that's basically what ethical is. It's ethical comes from the Greek ethos, moral character, and describes a person or behavior as right in the moral sense, truthful, fair, and honest. So ethical deals with morals, something being truthful, fair, honest. Now it already says here, technical barriers are breached. In other words, they had the technology to do it. They've already breached that. But it says ethical barriers are already cracking. In other words, the moral barriers. People finding out whether it's something that's good or whether it's something that's bad. All they gotta do is condition the public. Oh, there's a shortage of organs, so we have to do this. And everybody will say, you know what? Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And boom, right then and there, the ethical barriers get breached, and people are just accepting it. People are fools. And it says right here, see, it says with producing headless humans for organ harvesting, he wants to convince a skeptical public that it's perfectly okay. It's crazy. When prominent scientists are prepared to acquiesce means to accept something reluctantly without protest. When prominent scientists, let's be sure on that, acquiesce, accept something reluctantly but without protest. That's correct. When prominent scientists are prepared to acquiesce in or indeed encourage the deliberate creation of deformed or dying quasi-human life. Quasi means like appearing but not really. Let's see. Quasi, a combining form meaning resembling, having some but not all of the features of. So having some but not having all of the features of. And I read that word ethical, I believe it's from Merriam Dictionary, and with the other definitions as well. Quasi having some resemblance, usually by possession of certain attributes. Quasi, from Latin quasi, almost as it were. So quasi literally means almost as it were. So it says, the deliberate creation of deformed and dying, almost as it were, human life. Almost, because it doesn't have a forebrain. It doesn't even have a head. You know? We are facing a bioethical abyss. What does the word bioethical mean? Bioethics is the study of ethical issues emerging from advances in biology and medicine. It is also moral discernment as it relates to medical policy and practice. That's from Wikipedia right there. Bioethics is a term with two parts. and each needs some explanation. Here, ethics refers to the identification study. Identification. Let's go to the website. It's from Michigan State University. I'm not reading all of this. I'm just going to go back to the word bioethical. Well, we know ethical means something that's morally, but there's morals, truth, and bio is a living organism. So bioethics is something dealing with the approval of a living organism. In regard, that's why it says in advance. That's why it speaks about advances in biology and medicine. Bioethics is the study of ethical issues, things that are good, things that are bad, emerging from advances in biology and medicine. Biology is a study of a living organism. So it deals with ethical issues in regards to biology, whether something is considered ethically right, whether something is considered ethical based upon advances in biology. That's what bioethical is. And an abyss is like a pit. So it says the deliberate creation of deformed and dying quasi-human life. You know we are facing a bioethical abyss, right? You are facing a bioethical abyss if you're actually sitting there and doing this madness. Okay? And right there is a bioethical abyss. That shows you the ethics in regards to advances in biology are going right down to the abyss, right down to a pit. For you to actually sit there and create this quasi-human life. Human beings are ends, not means. There is no grosser corruption of biotechnology than creating a human mutant and disemboweling it at our pleasure for spare parts. The prospect of headless human clones should put the whole debate about normal cloning to a new light. Normal cloning is less a treatment for infertility than a treatment for vanity. So what does that mean now? What does that mean now? Cloning. What is cloning really all about? Cloning is for the infertile. Who's having less children than anybody else? Esau, so-called white people. So who is cloning really for? It's for them. Normal cloning is less a treatment for infertility. I'm going to do a show on that, Lil Will. Normal cloning is less a treatment for infertility than a treatment for vanity. It is a way to produce an exact genetic replica of yourself that will walk the earth years after you're gone. But there is a problem with a clone. It is not really you. It is but a twin. A perfect John Doe Jr., but still a junior. With its own independent consciousness, it is, alas, just a facsimile of you. Got that word, facsimile. Facsimile. A facsimile, from Latin facsimile, to make alike. So it's something that's alike you, similar to you. That's all I had to read on there. The hellish clone solves the facsimile problem. It is a gateway to the ultimate vanity, immortality. If you create a real clone, you cannot transfer your consciousness into it to truly live on. But if you create a headless clone of just your body, you have created a ready source of replacement parts to keep you, your consciousness, going on indefinitely. Which is why one form of cloning will inevitably lead to the other. Cloning is the technology of narcissism, and nothing satisfies narcissism like immortality. Headlessness will be cloning's crowning achievement. The time to put a stop to this is now. Dolly moved President Clinton to create a commission that recommended a temporary ban on human cloning. Why would it be a temporary ban? But with physicist Richard Seed threatening to clone humans, and with headless animals already here, we are past the time for toothless commissions and meaningless bans. Clinton banned federal funding of human cloning research, of which there is none anyway. So they say, or at least if that was the case, maybe back then. He then proposed a 5-year ban on cloning. This is not enough. Congress should ban human cloning now, totally, and regarding one particular form, it should be draconian. The deliberate creation of headless humans must be made a crime, indeed a capital crime. If we flinch in the face of this high-tech barbarity, we'll deserve to live in the hell it heralds. Alright, this is Proverbs chapter 4, verse 14. Enter not into the path of the wicked, and go not in the way of evil men. So we're not supposed to go into that way, that damn cloning way, and be accepting of that. We're not accepting of that foolishness. Avoid it, pass not by it, turn from it, and pass away, because we understand the Most High is the one and only Creator. For they sleep not, except they have done mischief. and their sleep is taken away unless they cause them to fall. So that's Esau. He don't sleep unless he done some type of mischief, and their sleep is taken away unless they cause something to fall. Matter of fact, I got a scripture. I had two other articles I wanted to go to, but this is longer than I expected. This is Micah chapter 2. Let me see. Okay, Micah 2:1. Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it, because it is in the power of their hand. So they work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it. So it's comparing. So what it is comparing a person that devises iniquity to a person that works evil upon their bed. It's like imagine a person laying down in their bed thinking about something, right? When the morning is light, they practice it, and then when they wake up in the morning, they practice what it was that they thought that they thought of the night before. So that's Esau right there. He's working evil upon his beds. He's devising iniquity and working evil upon his bed. Look at the word beds there. Mashakab. It says lying down, couch, by act of lying, couch, bed, act of lying down or sleeping room, bedroom, lying down for sexual contact. Let's see. Doesn't really say much. That's all it really says. Doesn't really give you much there. Okay. Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it. Like a person that commits adultery in their bed, in a bed. When the morning is light, they practice it. So it's comparing that to a person working evil upon their beds, but thinking about something in their bed the previous night, and then practicing it the next day. When the morning is light, they practice it because it is in the power of their hand. So they think about something previously, and then on the previous night, and when they wake up in the morning, they practice what it was that they thought the night before. Why? Because it is in the power of their hand. They have the ability to do so. Esau thinks about something, and in time, he practices what it was that he thought previously because he has the technology to do it. They got this cloning technology. It may not be as advanced as they want it to be, but it is there. And that's that spiritual power on the left hand side, because Esau needs technology to be able to do those type of things. The Most High doesn't. Okay, this is the last scripture I'm gonna get. This is Psalms 140:1. Deliver me, O Yahweh Bashim Shah, from the evil man. Preserve me from the violent man, which imagine mischiefs in their heart. Continually are they gathered together for war. And that's Esau. Esau is imagining wickedness, mischief in his heart. That's a mischief right there. You know what I'm saying? If you don't want to create headless human beings and harvest organs inside the body so that Esau can live forever, because you know it's for Esau. And we don't want to live forever in this society. We want to live forever in the kingdom of heaven. Psalms 140:8. Grant not, O Yahweh Bashim Shah, the desires of the wicked. So we ask the Most High not to grant Esau these desires. Further not his wicked device. We ask the Most High not to further Esau's wicked device, lest they exalt themselves to lie. And that's exactly what Esau would do. You know? If Esau was able to further, which that wicked device overall is talking about the New World Order, but this is a part of the New World Order too. Immortality. Further not his wicked device, lest they exalt themselves to lie. And that's what Esau would do. If the Most High allowed Esau to further this wicked device, he would exalt himself and actually believe he's a God and not a man. So with that, I'm going to close. Always learn something. And I'm going to say Shalom.